Good afternoon, friends of BSc 6th semester. Again, we are discussing C language, and probably today is the last class on C language. We are discussing loop control structures. It's also known as decision making and looping. Well, looping in a C program is essentially a powerful technique. Through this looping technique, through which a group of statements can be executed repeatedly. Looping is a powerful technique through which group of or number of statements executed repeatedly until a specified condition is satisfied. Looping is also called as repetitive or an iterative control statement. Iterative or repetitive control statements. We have used this iterative method in numerical methods. Newton-Raphson method is an iterative method. Already you have studied this in numerical methods. This loop, the word loop or looping in C program, essentially consists two parts. One is body of the loop, looping or loop control structure consists two parts. The first one is body of the loop, and the other one is known as control statement. This control statement, yesterday we have seen, it is a conditional control structure or decision making. Here the other part of this loop control structure, and C is meant for it. The C language is rich or good in having looping control structure or conditional control structure. Already we have discussed the conditional control structure. We are discussing loop control structure. Looping or loop consists of two parts. The first part is body of the loop and the second part is control statement. And this control statement performs a logical test, and we all know at this point the logical test, a logical operator or logical expression has only two results, that is true or false. True means non-zero, false means it is zero. If the result of the control statement here is, that is a logical, say, test, the result of control statement, that is a logical test, is true, that is non-zero value, then the loop will be executed. The number of statements inside the loop will be executed, and if the control statement here, which has a logical test, and if that logical test result is false, the loop or control statement will come out of that and it will go to the next statement in the program here. This control statement, that is the second part of loop, can be placed either before the body of the loop or at the end of the body of the loop. If the control statement is placed before the body of the loop, then that control statement is called as entry control statement. And if control statement is placed or written, control statement is written after the body of the loop, then it is also called as exit control statement. Point to be remembered here, this control statement, what is called as a logical expression or a logical test. Logical test in a control statement should be designed so that statement should be executed repeatedly and the loop should terminate gracefully. If the logical test or the logical expression in a control statement is not designed properly, then a loop will continue and it will repeat indefinite time. It will repeat over and over, say again and again, and it will not come out. Therefore, efficient looping mechanism have certain steps here. Efficient looping mechanism consists of 3 steps. I will write here. First step is initialization. Initialization. What do you mean by initialization here? To set the initial value of the loop counter. We have to set here initial value for the loop counter. The loop counter may be an increment or decrement. Loop counter may be increment or decrement. For example, here I is the initial counter, I the assigning operator, I say it is equal to 0. Or another example, say sum. I am writing a program to find the first 50, sum of first 50 natural numbers. So here the initialization, the sum must be initially 0. That is, initialization is done and then initialization should be incremented. That is, sum is equal to sum plus sum equal to sum plus the initial counter here. That may be incrementing or decrementing. Sometimes we should have the decrementing operator, incrementing operator while initialization. This is first step in this step involved in looping. The second step is decision. Decision in the sense an appropriate test condition to determine whether the loop be executed or not. That is a decision here. So the decision statement, that is a relational operator you are using or logical operator you are using to make a proper decision whether to continue the executing the body of the loop or terminate it. The second step is decision, and the third step is updation. So we have to update. That means this initialization or incrementation of a counter here, that should be updated every time, that is every pass. First pass, the second pass, then third pass, maybe n passes there for a loop. So every time that should be updated, then only your loop will gracefully terminate, otherwise it will go into infinite looping, which is not a good practice here. So here in loop control structure we have three statements, looping statements, that is the while statement, do while and for statement. While statement, this is first statement in loop control structure. The second one is do while, do hyphen while statement. Third one is for statement. We are discussing this, and these statements, looping statements or loop control statements, are mentioned in our syllabus. Let us go for while statement. I will write on this side while. This is while statement. While is a keyword, and we have discussed about the keywords. While is a keyword. While statement here, and this while statement is used to execute set of statements repeatedly as long as a specified condition is true. The while statement is used to execute set of statements repeatedly as long as specified condition is true. The syntax of this that is a grammar, you can say, syntax of while loop is, say here, I'll write it in a box, thus. Okay, so the while, a keyword, and we write the keywords in small case, that is lower case. In parenthesis we have logic expression, LOGEXP we'll write thus, and thus curly brace statement, in between statement or statements, and then end of thus. This is simply a syntax of a simple while statement. Let us explain about its syntax. We know this while is a keyword. While is a keyword. We have discussed about this long back. We have discussed this at the beginning itself. And this logical expression, EXP, you can write anything here that is logical completely or expression. And this is a logical expression. We have discussed logical operators. Using operators, logical operators, if we connect with one logical operator, two operands, it happens to be a logical expression. And this logical expression results into either a true, means non-zero value, or zero. True or false. True means non-zero, okay. False means it is zero. Anything other than 0 is a true result, false is equal to 0. So this is a logical expression. Statements here, statement may be a simple statement, or statements may be compound statements. Now, how it flows, how it is executed, we want to know about this. See this first here, all the logical expressions, if there is only one expression, that expression should be evaluated. If there are more than one expression, those expressions should be evaluated, and if the result is true, that is non-zero, then the statement, the control will go to the statement here, or statements, number of statements or compound statements repeatedly, and it will execute this loop. If in one pass or second pass or 10 passes here, if loop executes this and one fine pass, if this logical expression result is false, then the control will go to the next statement of the program. So here we should keep in mind, every time when there is loop, say it starts from this, it executes this statement, provided the result is true, it comes here, go back. Here the logical expression, the value of this logical expression should go on changing. If that happens for a finite time, then it executes this loop for a finite time and it will come up. If this logical expression index doesn't change, if it is not updated, if it is not initialized, then the expression means looping will not end here. That should be. If it is not changed, the while loop enters into infinite loop. If the logical expression result is not changing after every pass of a loop, then say loop will enter into infinite loop, and the control doesn't come out of that unless you switch off your machine. It happens for a beginners. Okay, a person who has learned this language carefully, he will do it. He will design for the logical expression properly, and it will have finite number of passes here. The flowchart of this while statement, how it runs, we'll come to know how it executes this loop called as while loop or while statement. We have here flowchart for this. Flowchart for while statement, while loop. Let us write while loop because we are discussing loop control structures. So this is logical expression. Here evaluate logical expression. This is expression log x, say exp, you can say expression this way. Then there will be a decision making block. This is result true, is result true, question mark. If result is true, say if the result is true, it will go here, it will go to body of the loop, and it is one part of a loop, body of the loop. This is body of the loop or body of the while loop. while loop. Then it go back and it joins here. This will continue. If the result is false at find moment, false, it will come out of this and execute the next statement outside the while loop. Statement outside the while loop. Statement outside while loop. While loop. Okay, this is a flow chart. Look, it will initially evaluate logical expression. Once that expression is evaluated, it will take a decision whether that result is true or false. If the result is true, then control will move to the body of the loop. In between statements are executed, processed, and then control will go back to again logical expression. Here again, this logical expression is updated every time. That initial counter is set here, and it will continue. It will continue for a finite intervals or finite passes, you can say. After, say, this loop is executing 10 loops here, and at 11th loop the result will change. Result of logical expression will change. That is, it moved from true to false, and then it will come out of that loop and goes to the next statement of the program, or next statement outside the loop. Outside the loop. Let us write a simple program based on this and see how it works. Say, simple program to accept your name and print it for specified number of times. Program to accept your name and print it for specified times. Say I want to accept a name of a person and print it 10 times, 3 times, 4 times. Okay, so this is a program. We'll start with this include say stdio.h header file. Fine. Then we start with void main with this is must. Then we have the curly brace. Here I'll write inside this variable character, that is name, and the size or the field is one-dimensional array. Here 20 letters, 20 alphabets, 20 characters here. Terminate this. This is 1. Say integer, that is how many times? K times. K integer variable is k times. And this is I, the initial counter, k times, and I are the integer, and this is character, data type. Gets name, I will have the input, gets name, and gets is input statement. We have discussed this. Print F, say how many times, print your name, this should be completed with n here and double quote, and terminate it with this. Scanf, this is output, input statement. We have to give the data type, that is %d, close this, comma, k times, k and k times here, and k times, close this. Initial counter, that is statement here, I is equal to 0. Now I am using the statement while here say in bracket I less than k times. This is the control of while statement, and we have here parenthesis and then puts name, that is output. I is incremented here, I, and it is comma now, here it is comma, and this is the end of while statement and the end of say main. I will write here comment, that is end of main. This is how a simple program we can write using while statement. Let us go for do while and see what it is. Do while. Let me see what is the time. Do while statement. This is another statement, do while. Do while statement. Last year, in the last semester, we have asked this for comparison for 5 marks. Distinguish between do while and do while statement. Well, this do while statement is used to execute set of statements repeatedly until a logical test result is false. This do while statement is also called as post test loop. We will see what is meant by post test loop, because the test for repetition is met at the end of each pass. Look, in earlier flowchart, the logical expression is at the beginning, that is entry control statement. Here it is post test loop, because the test for repetition is met at the end of each pass. So it is called as post test loop. The syntax of this post test loop called as do while. Do syntax I am writing here in box, you can say do curly brace, okay, statements while say in control here logic expression. Look at this, do is a keyword, and while is also a keyword. Statements here, maybe compound statements or simple statements are to be executed, that forms the body of the loop, and the control is put at the end, do while and then control statement. This control statement will check whether the result is true or false. Now, this do while statement should have at least one loop, that is, it should start from do and ends with this, because the logical expression is placed or the control is placed at the end. The logical test is put or the logical test for a repetition of the loop is placed at the end. If the body of the do while contains implicitly or explicitly statements to be modified, as in earlier example we have put here initial counter, that is initialization within this. It should be explicitly or implicitly, statement should be modified within the body loop of the do while statement. Let's go for flowchart of this and see how it runs. Flowchart, using flowchart makes us to understand how the loop is executing. Flowchart of do while statement. So this first block is execute the body of the loop. Execute body of the loop. That is do while, loop do while. This is, and then it goes to evaluate the logical expression here. Goes to evaluate logical expression. Evaluate logical expression. And then it goes to this decision making block. Is result true or false? It's a question mark. If it is true, we are going in this way. Say this way. True. We go back to the first step here. If it is false, go to the next statement outside the body of the loop. See, look at this. Execute the loop of the body, that is do while, and then it evaluates the logical expression. There is a logical expression at the end. So it is called as post-test loop. It tested, logical result is tested at the end, that is post, after executing the body, and therefore it is called as post-test loop. And here is a decision making block. Is the result true? The question is the result true? If the result is true, that is non-zero,